Well, hello. Hi, everybody. And a good shortened week to you. Not quite a normal Labor Day, was it? Labor Day, for many people, felt like every other day of the last 6 months. No labor. To say that it is irrational what is happening in a place like California. Still can't enter a restaurant. I'm headed to Michigan today, Grand Rapids. And I'm told in Michigan, the restaurants are quite, or at least in Grand Rapids, they're quite full. I guess the virus affects people in Michigan more than it does in California. And people still defend this man whom I consider a criminal. And I do. I consider him a criminal. That is Gavin Newsom. There is nothing worse than a fool with power. The mediocrity with power is a very dangerous thing. It's worse in Melbourne, in Australia, by the way. A pregnant woman was arrested, handcuffed by the police for saying that she wanted to demonstrate against the lockdown in Victoria. I believe it's Victoria-wide. I don't think it's just Melbourne. I was just on a Zoom conference. I gave a Zoom speech, as it were, to Melbourne. And the rabbi that I was in dialogue with there was telling me how draconian the laws are. I may have him on. The English-speaking world has truly flipped out in almost every arena. Well, welcome to the show. This is the time when you have to fight back. One way to fight back is not to fly American Airlines. I hate calling for boycotts. My whole life I have been proud of the fact that I never boycotted even Ben and Jerry's, two morons on the left. But it's now, there's no choice. American Airlines has announced that its flight attendants and others can wear BLM pins. That makes for a charming experience to have a fascist organization represented by employees of American Airlines. Just fly something else and tell them why. I feel like burning my, let's see, I have it on. No, I don't have it on me. I'm on one of the highest levels of American, but they've lost me. This is what I mean by you have to fight, and you have to send them a letter, very polite. Say something to the effect, it is a despicable organization. It does not represent blacks. You know they don't represent blacks. You listen to your diversity, well, not a dean, commissioner of diversity at American, and you're cowards. That's just what we need in our time is to politicize your flight. It's not enough to politicize basketball and football. Now your flight has to be poisoned with it. Can I don't know, can an employee wear a Trump pin? And I don't want them to wear one. That's the thing. I'm passionately for the re-election of this president. But I don't want flight attendants wearing Trump pins. There's no escape. Remember, the left is totalitarian. I've said it all my life. Most people think that I've engaged in hyperbole. Maybe now you realize that is literally accurate. All leftists are totalitarian. Liberals are not, conservatives are not, leftists are. Total. Our control must be total. You cannot escape leftism. Not even on an American Airlines flight, that little bubble in the air. So why don't they just rename it Left-Wing Airlines? You are not welcome if you consider police lives valuable. You are not welcome if you know that BLM is a despicable fascist group. Why can't people say that? It's so obvious. Do you see what they do in almost every city? Now Rochester and Pittsburgh. The other one was Washington, D.C. They scream and curse people, white people who are having dinner because they're white, and they're not a racist organization. It's the most racist organization in the country outside of the Ku Klux Klan. It's just beyond belief that the fact that there are many whites in it doesn't make it not racist. The sick people who join it, the angry, sick people. Don't fly American Airlines. It's easy to avoid it unless you are in a hub and it's the only airline that services your city. If we don't fight back, and it's a little inconvenient, so you'll have to reroute your route. There's now refunding on tickets. Just give it up. You don't pay a penalty. At least you don't on United. I suspect it's now true for all the airlines. What am I flying today? I'm flying United, I believe. United and Delta need to see the reaction against American for making your trip crappy, tension-filled. That's all it is. And they do it. Oh, I got to read to you. I mean, their message. Oh, my God, the Orwellianism. American Airlines, here we go. Crews will be allowed to wear Black Lives Matter pins on their uniforms while on duty, the company announced Sunday. In addition, the company is also working to design its own pin that will show its symbolic support of a diverse and inclusive work environment. That's what we need, folks. More politicization of American life. God, there was a time not long ago in America, you could watch a sporting event with no tension of political tension. Go to school with no political tension. You could go on an airplane with no political tension, but the left has screwed it all, and I wish I could use the real word for screwed. Breitbart continues, clearly we live in a time where it is so important to have a dialogue. Oh, yeah, no, this is not Breitbart. This is the company's message. Clearly we live in a time where it is so important to have a dialogue about this important issue of racism in our country and try to find common ground. American is truly committed to having an inclusive culture that is welcoming to all and a reflection of our country and world. What does that mean? It means nothing, you realize. Welcoming to all? I am not welcome. Do you not understand? Half of America has utter moral contempt for the Black Lives Matter movement. We completely support the concept of Black Lives Matter, but it's like saying I because I'm anti-communist, I'm anti-worker. I will not fall into that trap. BLM uses blacks, just like the Communist Party used workers. This is why American is so committed to creating a more tolerant and diverse team. Really, it's been intolerant thus far, American? Is that right? How exactly? Through our partnership with American's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. These are the people who run corporations now. They're so, because cowards run big business. America is being destroyed by big business more than by government. This is unique in history. When you think of Nike, when you think of Amazon, and all of them, I mean, it's just, and the foundations, the private foundations, the Ford Foundation with $1 billion to radical groups, is it? I'll check out the exact number. Don't fly American. Fight back, or you'll lose your country. We can lose it. It's a fragile experiment in decency and freedom. People who don't value those things can kill it.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
You have been more fulsome in your praise of this president than others I would have expected to be. What do you suppose it is that he has done? Because he does seem to me like a man created by God for this hour. It's a kind of an extraordinary thing to watch. In your book, which is coming out soon, The Trump Century, you talk about him changing the course of history forever. I think that's exactly correct. So let's talk about that.
The first thing he did, Eric, was to stop the decline in the denial of America. And it didn't take him long. As soon as he openly changed the rhetoric of the public conversation, he inserted God back into the public square. He did so with tremendous, I think, deft stealth. And I'm talking, yes, about this president being stealthy. He was remarkable. And we saw it ring out in communities all over the country. It's one of the least appreciated accomplishments of this president. Not only is he preserving faith in this country, but he was putting faith and God on the public agenda and on the tongues of even those who would seek to remove God again from the public square. It's really been an astonishing accomplishment. And along with that, his support for law and order, his support for the assertion of sovereignty in this country. As he said from the beginning, without borders, there is no nation.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
I am very worried about our country. I'm worried about what happens. In Louisville, there's going to be a decision whether or not they try those police officers that were involved in the no-knock raid of Breonna Taylor. When that decision comes down, they're already threatening to burn the city down. And we are going to preemptively need, and this is the job of the governor, it really has to be done by governors. That's the way our laws are written. But if our governor doesn't have the National Guard out to the tune of a couple of thousand soldiers on the day of that, it's all on him if they burn Louisville down. And they're already threatening to do it. And this is happening in other cities. And I truly agree with President Trump that if you want the country to look like Portland, that's what's going to happen if you let Joe Biden supporters and Black Lives Matter, if you let them win the election. So,
well, Senator, the Constitution calls for a federal city. It doesn't say it has to be in D.C. Would you be in favor of, keeping the mall and the White House and Congress and giving the rest back to Maryland?
I've always been in favor of letting them all go back to Maryland. Yeah, Maryland can't get much worse with their elected representatives. So, no, I think that's probably not going to happen. I think realistically, I think home rule is a possibility. But the problem right now is the Democrats see the mob as their constituency. So you haven't heard Joe Biden or Kamala Harris condemn the attack on my wife and I and our two friends. I haven't heard a peep from them. All Joe Biden did was pop out of somewhere and say, oh, it's all President Trump's fault. Well, this is all going. Law enforcement is primarily the responsibility of local officials. It's state law. It's Democrats for 50 years that are responsible for this.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How is it possible, Mike, Secretary Pompeo, how is it possible that ISIS is no longer a headline story like it was for years and years and years under Obama?
Focus and President Trump would be my two answers, and they are related. We went after it with the vigor and energy that said this is a serious matter. You remember this when
Okay, everybody, Dennis Prager here. And if you want to fight, I have another message for you. 10for20.com. Got to get people to vote. This is the second time in my life I said it's the most important election in American history. I said it in 2016. I did not say it about this one until this year, when the Democrats have become a Bolshevik party, basically a communist party. Never said that in my life. Never thought I would ever say it. Their platform is indistinguishable from the Communist Party's platform, except that they don't call for the nationalization of all industry. That's the one difference with the communists. But it doesn't even matter, given that industry follows the left line. They don't have to nationalize them. They're puppets to leftism, like American Airlines. Go to 10for20.com. Take the pledge there. You'll receive a link. Gets you the most trusted voting information tools that you can use to become the largest conservative get-out-the-vote effort ever. This is one of the ways you can fight. 10for20.com. The number 10, FOR, the number 20.com. 1-8-PRAGER-776 is the number here. More on the American Airlines. Airline said in a press release that, quote, demonstrations calling for justice and reform highlight the urgent need for systemic change because Black Lives Matter, capital B, capital L, capital M. This is the American Airlines. Sunday's announcement received backlash from some of the company's flight attendants, the New York Post reported. I take offense to this serious offense. My husband is a LEO, law enforcement officer, as was my deceased father, and as far as I'm concerned, all lives matter, a veteran flight attendant wrote in an email to airline management. She continued, I'm completely disgusted at the fact that we can't show support for our God, our country, our LEOs. But when it comes to BLM organization, which is controversial in itself, it's not just controversial, it's fascist. It's communist, to be more precise, which is the equivalent to fascist. American Airlines says that's obviously different. And we can. How is that right? Well, I don't feel included. A second flight attendant identified as John said employees who refused to wear the pin would, quote, be ostracized and labeled as racist. That's exactly right. Why aren't you wearing a BLM pin? There's a beautiful way to have tension between the flight attendants, which is just what we want on our flights, American Airlines, you cowards. Do not fly American Airlines. You can get your tickets refunded without charge. I promise you they will change their mind. They're cowards, so they go where the power is. The number of courageous people in powerful positions in this country is close to zero. It's a new country, my friends. Make America Great Again is a perfectly apt motto. That's right. The flight attendant said employees who refused to wear the pin would be ostracized and labeled as racist, adding that Black Lives Matter is, quote, a terrorist organization that promotes violence to further their agenda. If this pin is sanctioned, I will wear my NYPD pin supporting the police department. That's great, you morons at American. Have competing pins among your flight attendants because you listened to the fools in your department of, what is it called? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh my God. If this plan is sanctioned, I will wear my NYPD pin. In a statement to the Post, The New York Post. The airline said Sunday that employee resource groups were working to design pins for various causes. That's what we need. That's it. The pin battle on the plane. Right. By the way, on a personal note, just want you to know, when I conducted a Passover Seder on the internet live in April, and almost 500,000 people watched around the world. You can look it up, and you can still see it. And see the 1,000 comments. People were deeply moved. Every faith and no faith. Well, I recorded in 4K the Jewish High Holy Day services of last year, almost as if I knew there would be a lockdown this year. 16 hours, which will move you of any faith. Go to the banner High Holy Days at DennisPrager.com for information. We're putting up some video excerpts of it as well. We have every year 400 people, non-Jews attend, Jews, atheists, young people, because it's made meaningful. Anyway, there's a banner at my website, High Holy Days. 1-8-PRAGER-776, Dave in Surprise, Arizona. Hello, Dave.
You're such a blessing, Mr. Prager. I quoted you all weekend. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What we deal with the leftists, not so much the liberals, but the leftists, is they use three methods of communication. It's hypocrisy, lies, or projections. And I think we should take a page out of their playbook. Let's rename American Airlines Anti-American Airlines, the new AAA of the sky.
I love you. That's great. That's what I'm going to call them, Anti-American Airlines. If you support BLM, you're anti-American. That is correct, by definition. BLM hates America. If you deny that, you are the lowest form of liar, because you not only lie to others, you are lying to yourself. That's the scariest human. People who know they're lying are immoral, but there's hope for them. What's our story? I'm sorry. Okay. That's what Anti-American Airlines. Let's just, if they lose enough revenue and goodwill, which they've lost on me, I got to see what level I'm on. I got to give that up. We'll be back in a moment. 1-8-PRAGER-776.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How is it possible, Mike, Secretary Pompeo, how is it possible that ISIS is no longer a headline story like it was for years and years and years under Obama?
Focus and President Trump would be my two answers, and they are related. We went after it with the vigor and energy that said this is a serious matter. You remember this when the administration began. They were beheading Americans. You remember the videos?
Yes.
People in cages. They controlled a huge piece of real estate the size of the United Kingdom. And President Trump just said enough and unleashed our capabilities, our military, our intelligence capabilities, all of our diplomatic efforts to get our partners and allies. We built a coalition of 80-plus countries, and we crushed the caliphate. And, the terrorists still exist. There's still work to do. It's the state of nature in some sense. But that risk, the fact that it's not in the news every day, is a direct result of the good work that's been done under President Trump's leadership.
Focus and leadership from the Commander-in-Chief and his team. Okay, let's talk about the news that really the mainstream fake news industrial complex, the legacy media, doesn't want to talk about. A historic flight and also an historic deal. I'm a cynic. I've traveled through the Middle East and I've said unsolvable problems there. maybe I was wrong. Talk to us about the significance of the deal that has been brokered by your good offices, the president and his envoys.
So the president said about fundamentally upending the policies of the previous administration with respect to the Middle East. Previous administration said we're going to make the Islamic Republic of Iran the anchor tenant in our mall. President Trump said that doesn't work.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
It's a funny thing, isn't it, that Trump is so bold that he makes previous Republican presidents look weak. It's very odd to me that anybody could have come into our history and have done that, but he really has done that, and he's driven some of them insane. Obviously, the late John McCain and Mitt Romney, and he seems to have driven them over the edge and exposed them for something less than genuine American loving conservatives.
Right. As if they ever were. There wouldn't have been a pretense on their part had it not been for the left-wing media trying to put, for example, John McCain on the air on almost every Sunday talk show host every year, because he would be the first to rebut, rebuke, and rebel against the Republican Party and conservatives. And so they held him up as their fair and balanced caricature that they would put up on those Sunday talk shows to denigrate the Republican Party and God-fearing, law-abiding citizens.
Well, when you have people like John Kasich, my goodness, a former GOP candidate for the presidency going over to their side. And if their side were the Joe Biden of 20 years ago, that would be bad enough. But when their side is effectively the party of AOC and Ilhan Omar and the rest, a kind of madness has overtaken the left.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now.
Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here. Todd in West Hollywood, California. Hello.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi.
I just wanted to share with you that I just called American Airlines because I was so disgusted with what you had said. I didn't hear it until I heard it on your show. And I called and tried to reach the corporate office, and when I got to trying to leave a message, it just hung up on me. So I called back.
Wait. I don't understand that. Wait. What does that mean? I called.
Yeah. I called American Airlines,
right,
and you have to go through all the different prompts, and I went to the corporate office prompts to try to reach someone at the corporate office that would pick up the phone so I could tell them that I heard about the BLM, I'm totally against it, I'll never fly the airlines again. But before I could even leave a message, it just hung up on me saying that no one is available, the office is closed. So I called back.
It's the day after Labor Day. Why would they be open? Go ahead.
So then I called back to see if I could reach someone in the customer service department rather than the corporate department. And when I went through the prompts for the customer service department, the same thing happened. It says no one is available. Try your call again, and it just clicked off.
Well, send an email. Get to them in any way you can. Don't curse or anything like that. I know you wouldn't, but I'm just saying this for everybody. And let them know. Don't say you'll never fly them again. That's also wrong. So long as they decide to radicalize every flight, divide their workers to basically hate each other. You're not wearing a BLM pin? Oh, you are a racist, right? Just as the flight attendant said. If you don't wear that pin, that's the way totalitarians work. It's not only what you can't do that they control, it's what you must do. You have to show your obedience to leftism. Otherwise, you are ostracized. Why do they even think this is a safety issue? They say safety is their first concern. If flight attendants are angry with one another, and it is inconceivable they will not be, it is not conceivable. Why is that safe for the passengers? Because corporate heads are cowards, like presidents of universities. This is not the land of the free and the home of the brave as it was. It can be again. It is not now. Whether it's American Airlines or Nike or Amazon, not to mention Twitter, and not to mention Facebook, and not to mention Google. They're either leftists or cowards, which is identical. I can't think of a more suicidal idea than to politicize flights. It's not, I can't think of one. It's bad enough that I have to stare at the Black Lives Matter message supporting the group. The idea, I support 100%. The group is despicable. And they mean the group. Safety is their first concern. What a lie. Let's let the crew be. What if the pilot wears a BLM thing and the guy next to him doesn't think that BLM is anything but a fascist/communist group of racists, the biggest racists in the country outside of the KKK. That's going to be a great flight, right? Hey, George, how come you're not wearing a BLM pin? Are you a racist? You may not have to say it, but isn't he thinking it? Why isn't my co-pilot wearing a BLM pin? Uh-oh, I'm flying with a non-woke, non-moral, non-decent, non-diverse-loving, diversity-loving co-pilot, right? Of course. Joe, New York City, hello.
Yes, hi, Dennis.
Hi.
I used to work for American Airlines. They created this narrative of race within the company several years ago when they merged with U.S. Air. It's become so divided that black and white flight attendants barely talk to one another. Now, someone's going to scream about that, but I can tell you for sure there's a big divide at American Airlines. And
all right, hold on. I want to hear about it when I come back. Let me at least help you folks relieve yourself of some physical pain. There are millions of people, over 100 million, struggling with some kind of pain, maybe from exercise, just getting older, whatever it is. And Pete and Seth Talbot are on a mission. They're the father and son who made Relief Factor, religious guys, by the way. So here's the deal. If you're struggling with back, neck, shoulder, hip, or knee pain, I suggest that you try it out for 3 weeks. It's still discounted to only $19.95 plus shipping. You will know in 3 weeks if it works. Doesn't work, you throw out $19.95 in shipping. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-500-8384.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Donald Trump has praised military leaders. He's increased the military budget and rebuilt the military. And for you to believe that Donald Trump does not support the military is completely inconsistent with his actions. Okay, but let's assume that that doesn't even persuade you. I just want to talk to you about the focus of this for today. This being the lead story on CNN, lead story on MSNBC. Why can't you make the case that the lead story should have been the story about Judicial Watch filing a lawsuit claiming that the CIA has admitted that they destroyed records relating to an allegation that Joe Biden inappropriately touched a Secret Service agent's wife? Furthermore, this unnamed source claims that it wasn't just one time, that Biden would frequently walk around naked and engage in other very inappropriate activity. This was an article that was published in 2017 in Gateway Pundit. It said that Biden had a hands problem and that other Secret Service agents complained about the way Biden touched their wives and their girlfriends. Suddenly, the documents purporting to claim all of this are missing. And Judicial Watch has filed a lawsuit to try to retrieve these documents if they in fact exist, because they claim that the Secret Service has acknowledged that the documents were in fact destroyed. Now, why isn't that a story?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. Let's go back to our caller here. Who was the caller? Is he still on? With regards to American Airlines. I guess he's not. All right. Be that as it may. Anti-American Airlines. Good. Greg in La Habra, California, just sold his shares, all his shares in American Airlines in disgust. Well, they got to get the message. You got to fight, folks. It's fighting for the country. Unfortunately, there are so many weak, cowardly forces, like big business. They're not our allies. They haven't been our allies in my memory. The left has a stranglehold on corporations because they don't want to be ostracized by the New York Times. That's what they fear. So that the tension on planes is going to be on American airline planes between among the crew is going to be palpable. Gee, what pin do you wear? It's just astonishing. Yep. Yes, indeed. Don't fly it. Fred in Inglewood, California. Hello.
Hey, Dennis, how you doing, man? I love this. I love your show, man.
Good.
I am outraged how the left is using black people to push their bigotry. They're the biggest. and all of these NBA players and NFL players and American Airlines and all of them. Let me tell you something. All they have to do is just read the Black Lives Matter manifesto. It doesn't take that. It doesn't take anything to be educated. And I am outraged. I am outraged. You know, talking about American Airlines. What if your spouse is a police officer? Then what you do?
Yes, my friend, I just have a question. Does your family support your views?
Yes.
Cool. You made my day, my friend. That is good to hear. When you see what Candace Owens is doing with Brexit, what Larry Elder is doing with Uncle Tom, the movie, I mean, the extraordinary black voices, Tom Sowell. I mean, there are so many who were unknown to the people who read the New York Times. What percentage of New York Times readers do you think has heard of Candace Owens? Or Larry Elder or Tom Sowell? I would say it's close to zero. That's the only way you could stay on the left if you hermetically seal yourself. We are familiar with them, but they are not familiar with us. Why they won't debate, or if on the rare occasions they do, they lose. We know all their arguments; they know none of ours. Can you imagine Al Sharpton debating Larry Elder or Candace Owens? Can you imagine that? And it would be an exercise in Schadenfreude. If your joy at seeing the bad miserable would overtake you, it would be like, I've never had drugs, but it would be like, I suspect, a drug high, except that there would be no aftershock. No come down. I mean, think about it. Why don't any of these people debate Candace or Larry? Because they don't stand a chance. They're intellectual lightweights. They could just scream racism, racism. Charles M. Blow against Larry Elder or Candace Owens? I hereby offer $10,000, which means nothing to Charles Blow, I suspect. Well-paid New York Times columnist. Nevertheless, it's not insignificant money. He's not getting lectures now. $10,000 to Charles Blow to debate Candace Owens or Larry Elder. Yeah, exactly. I don't think a lot of people know what that sound is anymore. The cash register has gone the way of the cassette tape. That's interesting. Rob in Chicago, hello.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi.
I have a question for you. My dad is a retired Chicago policeman. Can I wear my Blue Lives Matter pin on an American Airlines flight?
Oh, I
or how
suspect.
About my MAGA,
wait, no,
my
no, no.
MAGA hat?
No. You, the passenger, could wear anything. The question is, can a flight attendant? The issue. Remember, American Airlines is not saying passengers could wear a BLM pin. I have no issue with that. You want to wear a BLM pin as a passenger. I'm talking about the attendants and the crew.
So do I have to suffer the stares, though, of the attendants and crew while I wear my MAGA hat? Or my
you would
Blue
have
Lives
to.
Matter pin?
Yes, you would.
All right.
So that's not an issue. What passengers do is their business. I would not have raised this issue if the issue concerned only passengers. I want my crew to be politically neutral. I don't care if in their heart they loathe me for being white. But if you wear a BLM pin, you loathe me for being white. Then you are announcing it, and it's not an enjoyable flight when you have such hate on your lapel. BLM is hate on the lapel. Okay, is that clear? Every white is a racist. I am not a racist. You are lying about me. Period. You're an a-hole for lying about me. And your fellow flight attendants. Some of them have not been seduced by this hate. But that's what we want on our airplane, right? Competing lapel pins.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
The Chinese Communist Party model today is to create vassal states, tributary states that have to pay tribute to Beijing as the Middle Kingdom. There's a long history of this. It presents enormous risk to the world, and President Trump has recognized this presents a real risk to the United States of America, and in every front, whether it's diplomatic or economic, the United States is pushing back.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, China says they're making great progress on a vaccine. So does Russia. How are we going to trust either of these countries? And how are we going to trust the WHO when the WHO just flubbed it and China lied about the virus, and Russia, I don't know how we can trust them on anything. They're interfering with the election again. How can we possibly trust their claims on vaccines?
When I spoke in Southern California that day with respect to Chinese Communist Party, I said distrust but verify. I think with respect to the vaccines that are coming out of these countries, that's precisely the right model that we'll have to use. The whole world will have to take a good hard look and make sure that we have real scientific data in the same way we demand of anyone that puts forward a vaccine for sale and for distribution. My confidence level in the WHO is near zero in its capability to act in a science-based way and not a political way. And we've watched the Russians and the Chinese hurry these vaccines to market in an attempt to make not a medical breakthrough or an epidemiological breakthrough, but a political, diplomatic breakthrough that's not in the best interest of the world. If we get a vaccine out there that doesn't work, that could create further devastation, further loss of life. We saw the Chinese Communist Party cover up the virus that came from their country. I hope that they don't take actions that further put this world at risk.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Now, explain your point. Why is the president wrong?
All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. Do not fly American Airlines if you care for a safe flight. If the crew is angry at one another, you're wearing a BLM pin, or I'm wearing one and you're not. I'm working with a racist fellow crew member. Yep. It's truly remarkable. We'll talk about that more later. Have you seen the BLM protests in Rochester and Pittsburgh and Washington, where they curse and scream, bullhorns come over, overturn the tables, scream at people? Can you imagine if right-wing groups did this to diners at restaurants? Can you imagine? Be called a threat to the country when BLM protesters engage in this. It's just protest, and it's a wonderful thing. A great country is committing suicide, led by its elites. It's a first in history, to the best of my knowledge. Well, there's never been such a wonderful country, so that's part of the problem. Next hour, I'll read to you some of the draconian laws in Melbourne and in the state of Victoria in Australia. I'm telling you, people have flipped out. It's this health uberalis, as I warned. An article in today's New York Times. How many of you remember? This is one of those occasions I really do hope you remember. The moment India locked down, I said it was the single stupidest decision in the world. All of the world's decision to lock down was stupid. Indeed, I think criminal. But in India in particular, this unbelievably poor country, and sure enough, there's a piece in the New York Times today. The lockdown killed my father. Farmer suicides add to India's virus misery. Farm bankruptcies and debts have been the source of misery in India for decades, but experts say the suffering has reached new levels in the pandemic. No, in the lockdown. Both the conservative and left-wing media do that. It isn't the virus, it's the lockdown that causes the suicides, the depression. Let's use the right terminology. And that's what India did, and that's how India is suffering.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Now, Mr. Secretary, the last time I saw you was at the Nixon Library talking about China, and it was a historic speech. But it followed about 10 days the China-Iran deal, and we didn't talk about that because we didn't quite yet know it. I'd like to ask you, how ominous is that partnership, and contrast it with the United Arab Emirates Israeli deal that was put together by you and the president and the entire team, Jared, et cetera?
So it is a stark contrast. If you watch what's happening, that's what I talked about when I was in Southern California, that if you look at the Chinese Communist Party today and what General Secretary Xi is doing, you see whether it is the actions internal to the country, the enormous human rights violations, the way they're treating the Uyghurs and even the Mongols in the north and the Tibetans. This is a gross deterioration in the basic human rights that General Secretary Xi is providing for his own people, but then externally. I mean, you watch what's happening between India and China today, where the Chinese Communist Party has moved more soldiers to that border, more forces to that border than any time since the early 1960s, and causing huge problems for other countries in Southeast Asia in their ability to simply exercise their basic rights inside their own economic zones. This is a Chinese Communist Party that is authoritarian and has a deep desire for a hegemonic rule all around the world. Contrast that with the United Arab Emirates. They made a historic decision to recognize Israel and to come to a common understanding about the real threat to the people of the Emirates, which emanates certainly not from the State of Israel, but rather from the Islamic Republic of Iran. These are big global shifts, and the things President Trump has been leading on for the 3.5 years I've been part of this administration.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Your response is to throw that businesswoman under the bus. After 6 months of businesses being harassed by Democrat governors like your nephew, you're blaming her. A business owner who's since been interviewed, who says that she's receiving hourly harassment on social media and that her business is probably going to go down because of Nancy's attitude. Is that what being set up means? I'll tell you what it means. It means that you have utter disdain for the people who elected you. It means that you have utter contempt for the American people. Not only in the way you treated that individual, but also when it comes to the coronavirus. If you actually believe the things you have been vomiting at us, the verbal diarrhea about the Chinese virus for the last 6 months, you'd have that mask stapled to your face. You'd be walking around in a bubble. But no, instead you don't wear a mask. So what does that mean about your attitude to the coronavirus? Is it not a pandemic? Is it a hoax for you, Nancy? Really? Because that's what you've accused conservatives. That's what you've accused the president of saying.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Donald Trump has praised military leaders. He's increased the military budget and rebuilt the military. And for you to believe that Donald Trump does not support the military is completely inconsistent with his actions. Okay, but let's assume that that doesn't even persuade you. I just want to talk to you about the focus of this for today. This being the lead story on CNN, lead story on MSNBC. Why can't you make the case that the lead story should have been the story about Judicial Watch filing a lawsuit claiming that the CIA has admitted that they destroyed records relating to an allegation that Joe Biden inappropriately touched a Secret Service agent's wife? Furthermore, this unnamed source claims that it wasn't just one time, that Biden would frequently walk around naked and engage in other very inappropriate activity. This was an article that was published in 2017 in Gateway Pundit. It said that Biden had a hands problem and that other Secret Service agents complained about the way Biden touched their wives and their girlfriends. Suddenly, the documents purporting to claim all of this are missing. And Judicial Watch has filed a lawsuit to try to retrieve these documents if they in fact exist, because they claim that the Secret Service has acknowledged that the documents were in fact destroyed. Now, why isn't that a story?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
The Chinese Communist Party model today is to create vassal states, tributary states.
Okay, everybody, welcome back after a Labor Day weekend. As I noted last hour, Labor Day didn't seem that much different from the last 6 months of days to many of you. You didn't work yesterday, and you didn't work for 6 months because of the indefensible, health-wise and morally and legally lockdown. In California, it's worse than most places because a Democrat could declare night day and day night in California. The destruction of this state, which is once the glory of America, has been one of the examples of everything the left touches, it destroys. And yet the number of people who will vote for the left could be the majority. I say with great sadness, though a smile is on my face, but it's one of these wry smiles about the human condition. Once again, I want to just tell you not to fly American Airlines. It's the anti-American Airlines. It has told its crew that they can wear BLM pins. So, as one employee said, so if you don't wear a BLM pin, are you considered a racist by the flight attendant or pilot who does wear a BLM pin? And is this a safety measure where there's now political tension among the crew? But look, everything's politicized. Look at the court at the NBA games. I don't know why you're watching the NBA, unless you're on the left and loathe this country. I don't know why you would watch. People who loathe you and loathe America are playing for you, and you are watching them with joy. I don't quite understand that. I really don't. I don't understand it. I'm sorry that politics has had to, left-wing politics, in this case, has had to enter every sphere of life, but that is always the case for the left. You are watching this deterioration take place. You have to fight back. I wish we didn't. None of us enjoy fighting, including me. I'd rather talk to you about happiness and male and female issues and religion and the meaning of life and raising kids and all of those great subjects. How America could be a force for good in the world. I did not want to spend my life fighting. But you don't get a choice. Life hands you things. Your freedom in life is not what life hands you. Your freedom in life is how you respond to what life hands you. That's the way it works. So don't fly American. It's less safe to do so because the tension will be inevitable. Which one of you wears it? Play the Seinfeld. I'm gonna play for you a clip from the 1990s on a Seinfeld show, which would obviously not be would not even be broadcastable today. I mean, the decline in freedom of expression is such, where Seinfeld is told that he has to wear an AIDS ribbon, and he goes, no, I don't want to. And they go, well, you're not against AIDS? Like you're pro-AIDS. Like if you don't wear a BLM button or pin, you're pro-racism. The thugs that attack people while they're dining, have you seen? We should put them up at DennisPrager.com if you haven't seen it. Daily Mail has quite a few examples of this. In Rochester and Pittsburgh, I don't even know what would Pittsburgh have to do with anything. Just walk over to people dining, throw over what they're eating, scream at them, curse at them with a bullhorn. I'm telling you, it reminded me of the Hitler Youth prior to World War II. That's my first thoughts. Thugs harassing innocent people. They always said, well, can it happen here? Well, it depends what the it is. If the it is totalitarians taking over, it can happen. Why can't it happen here? Are Americans immune to evil? Every generation has understood that freedom has to be fought for in every generation. Don't fly American Airlines and let them know why not. Daily Mail, protesters who were captured on video yelling at outdoor restaurant patrons claimed the confrontation was sparked after a group of men shouted, "Blue Lives Matter," and one man swung a bike. So I don't quite understand. You can have a mob attack people while eating because somebody yelled "Blue Lives Matter"? The demonstrators were speaking out after a video of them yelling at diners in Rochester, New York, and swiping a drink from an elderly couple and downing it in front of them was shared on social media. The protesters were heard calling the diners embarrassments and surrounding the tables. You have to see these videos. This is unique. This has not happened in American history, to the best of my knowledge. Not on, isolated incidents, but nothing like this. If your kid that marches for BLM right now, you just got to tell them you're marching for evil. You're not marching for blacks. You're marching for an evil organization. Okay? You may mean well, but meaning well in life means nothing. And then spell it. Nothing. It means nothing. Now, let's see here. Even though people at the restaurant saw that whole thing, they still saw me as an aggressor. Nike Kraft, a protester at the event, told Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I don't understand that. Nike is Nique. According to Nike Kraft, who identifies as non-binary, so this person identifies as neither male nor female, the incident sparked when protesters marched through the area and 3 men shouted, "Blue Lives Matter." Oh, that's it. That's all you need to attack people, somebody yelling, "Blue Lives Matter." Kraft said that the older man seen in footage chastised protesters for their actions. His wife, however, invited Kraft over for a drink and to discuss the situation. So, being a theatrical, snarky type of person that I am, I said that I don't have time to wait for you to order another beer. I will take the one you have. That's something? You should have seen this black woman go over to the couple and just take their drink and drink it down. Because in her view, she can. Because the left has told her that good and evil are not what distinguish humans. Black and white does. So a black can do anything to a white. That is what she believes, because that's what she learned from the left. I have warned about this all of my life. The Judeo-Christian division of humanity is between the decent and the indecent. The left-wing definition is between strong and weak, between worker and owner, between black and white. The division is not moral. Morality changes depending on what group you are in. Secular conservatives who thought we could sustain a decent society without religious bases were wrong the whole time, as I have written and warned. They're great people, these secular conservatives, but they don't understand how important the Judeo-Christian bases of the society are. There is a perfect example. The left has taught a generation of blacks that they can literally do no wrong. You loot, that's fine. You scream obscenities at white elderly people dining, that's fine. Normal moral standards are white standards. That's what the left teaches. Don't send your kid to college, and certainly not high school. Start homeschooling them, my friends, or they will be poisoned. I'm sorry. I really am sorry.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
A story broke last night in The Atlantic, authored by Jeffrey Goldberg, saying that at the time of a canceled visit to the American cemetery outside of Paris in 2018, President Trump made disparaging remarks about fallen soldiers buried there. Now, you were on that trip. Did you hear any such remark from the president?
Never.
Have you ever? You've been a lot with him, more than probably anyone other than Vice President. Have you ever heard him say anything like that about fallen soldiers?
Those comments that, and I have not read the article, but I've seen the summaries would talk about him, suggest that he was saying something about soldiers being suckers or losers. I've never heard that. Indeed, just the opposite. I've been around him in lots of settings where there were both active duty military, guardsmen, reservists, veterans. This is a man who had the deepest respect for their service, and he always interacted with them in that way. He enjoys those times. He values those people.
I don't understand, and I'll get to China and Iran in just a second, what has happened to the media. They ran a story, and I know Jeffrey Goldberg, fine reporter, with 4 unnamed sources by people who could say anything, Secretary Pompeo. What has happened to the media?
You know, I'll leave that to others. My observation is that in now almost 10 years in Washington, I've watched the deterioration of the standards. I watched them begin to write things on secondhand information, hearsay from unnamed sources. It's most unfortunate, not because of anything that happens to any one of us as individuals, but it doesn't do service to the American people.
Now,
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How much has your life changed since you pushed back on that racist comment where you were singled out for your skin color, Lawrence?
Unimaginably so, sadly. Well, no, not sadly, actually, because there's been some wonderful things that have come from it. But yes, I've been hounded out of the acting business. I spend quite a lot of time on Twitter with film directors giving me grief. And I just ask them nice questions in return. But sometimes I get a few direct messages from them going, oh, you know, I'm only playing to the crowd. And I'm going, but that's my career you're playing to the crowd with, chum. So it's been interesting.
What about inspiration? I heard you mention cab drivers. Talk to us about the positive side effects of saying no to cancel culture and about the lives you've touched. I'm sure you get almost daily feedback in response to you actually standing up to these crazies.
I do. Whenever I walk the dogs in the park with my dad, which I do on a daily basis, people come and stop me all the time. And yesterday I was having lunch in a restaurant in London around the corner from a meeting, and the former Chancellor of the Exchequer in England came up to me and went, please, whatever you do, don't stop speaking.
Did you ever think, as a young actor, as a young singer and musician, that the former Chancellor of the Exchequer of Great Britain would come up to you one day and say something like that to you, Lawrence?
Well, the owner of the restaurant asked me that exact question when he was stood next to me at the time. He said, you didn't see this one coming, did you, chum? I was like, no, I didn't.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Now, there are some new poll numbers. This again, a Rasmussen poll. President Trump is now at 52%.
All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. Just want to remind you about Sierra Pacific Mortgage. This is the time, given the rates, one of the only silver linings of this horrible lockdown. This is the time for a refi, new purchase, cash out refi, or reverse mortgage. Don't wait. Call Andrew and Todd. To their credit, from the first days of the lockdown, these guys have been working on mortgage refis and new purchases, etc. I give them a lot of credit. Call them at 888-888-1172. It's Sierra Pacific Mortgage, andrewandtodd.com. These guys are what we used to call hustlers, but not in the bad sense, in the sense that they really hustle. They really work hard. I salute them. andrewandtodd.com, 888-888-1172. Yes, here's the Seinfeld. This could not be done. This is from the 1990s, a Seinfeld about having to wear an AIDS button. It's coming, though not fast. It's not coming. It should be coming. Okay, we'll have to wait on that. We have another computer glitch. He has no idea what happened. All right, what are we going to do? Not critical. Daily Mail. This is Rochester. More than 1,000 anti-racism supporters gathered together in downtown Rochester, where 29-year-old prude suffocated to death while in police custody. By the way, I did more research, and as usual, the press just lies by omission or commission. The mask or the covering put over the head is something police have for people who spit or bite. You can breathe through it. He didn't suffocate because of the mask, because it's used regularly. He said he had COVID and was spitting on the police officers. What are they supposed to do? So, by the way, in all of these cases, we have no reason to believe, if you care about truth, that George Floyd was killed by the knee to the neck. That is a standard procedure, at least in Minneapolis, probably elsewhere, to keep someone down. It is not on the front of the neck. It is on the side. It did not stop his breathing. He was already having breathing problems from the amount of chemicals in his body, which the coroner said contributed to his death and was probably the reason for his death. So when these people are acquitted, you're going to have more riots in America. They're based on lies, and therefore the truth doesn't matter. Just as President Obama lied when he cited Ferguson. Michael Brown attacked the police officer. The police officer didn't attack Michael Brown. Barack Obama is one of the major reasons for the racial tensions. Things were much better between the races before he was elected. I said during his presidency he was the worst president in modern American history. I am more convinced of that than ever. But he had style, and the left and liberals as well, they love style. They love the Kennedy family. That's one of the reasons they hate Donald Trump. He doesn't have style. It's a superficial world, the liberal and left world. Liberals and leftists don't have the same values, but they are seduced by the same things. Anyway, more than 1,000 people gathered in downtown Rochester. The huge crowd, this is Daily Mail, surrounded a restaurant where diners were eating on Friday night. Many looked terrified as demonstrators smashed the customers' glasses in front of their faces, broke plates, overturned chairs, and chanted at them to get out. Why didn't the Rochester police break this up? Why didn't they arrest these people? I don't know. I'm asking questions. The crowd chants, "If you don't give us our SH word, we shut SH down. That's a sophisticated crowd. As of Thursday, all 7 officers involved in the death of Daniel Prude were suspended. It's hard to see an optimistic scenario given the elite's support, like American Airlines, for BLM. About as despicable a group that has ever had support in American history. Everybody knows that. And not everybody. Most people know they're despicable. But very few people can say it out loud. I can, because one of the last vestiges of free speech in the United States is talk radio. That's right.
It's your AIDS ribbon.
No, thanks.
You don't want to wear an AIDS ribbon?
No.
But you have to wear an AIDS ribbon.
I have to?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't want to.
But everyone wears the ribbon. You must wear the ribbon.
What you are? You're a ribbon bully.
Hey, you, come back here. Come back here and put this on.
Hey, where's your ribbon? Oh, I don't wear the ribbon.
You don't wear the ribbon? Aren't you against AIDS?
Yeah, I'm against AIDS. I mean, I'm walking, aren't I? Just don't wear the ribbon.
Who do you think you are?
Put the ribbon on.
Hey, Cedric, Bob, this guy won't wear a ribbon.
Who? Who doesn't want to wear the ribbon? So, what's it going to be? Are you going to wear the ribbon? No, never. But I'm wearing the ribbon. He's wearing the ribbon. We are all wearing the ribbon. So why aren't you going to wear the ribbon? This is America. I don't have to wear anything I don't want to wear.
That was America.
I guess we're just going to have to teach him to wear the ribbon.
Can you imagine making this? Okay, it's enough. Thank you. Can you imagine making this skit or scene with a BLM pin? I don't want to wear a BLM pin. Wow. The speed of the left-wing takeover of much of this country is breathtaking, but it's not that shocking. That's why I've spent my life warning about it. When this is all you learn from the end of World War II till today, talking 75 years, that's a lot of time to influence people that this country is a piece of crap. The crap think the good are crap. It's the law of history. The indecent hate the decent. That's the left in a nutshell.
The Dennis Prager Show, live from the Relief Factor Pain-Free Studio. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
The Chinese Communist Party model today is to create vassal states, tributary states that have to pay tribute to Beijing as the Middle Kingdom. There's a long history of this. It presents enormous risks to the world, and President Trump has recognized this presents a real risk to the United States of America, and in every front, whether it's diplomatic or economic, the United States is pushing back.
Okay, Ms. Secretary, China says they're making great progress on a vaccine. So does Russia. How are we going to trust either of these countries? And how are we going to trust the WHO when the WHO just flubbed it and China lied about the virus, and Russia, I don't know how we can trust them on anything. They're interfering with the election again. How can we possibly trust their claims on vaccines?
When I spoke in Southern California that day with respect to Chinese Communist Party, I said distrust but verify. I think with respect to the vaccines that are coming out of these countries, that's precisely the right model that we'll have to use. The whole world will have to take a good hard look and make sure that we have real scientific data. in the same way we demand of anyone that puts forward a vaccine for sale and for distribution. My confidence level in the WHO is near zero in its capability to act in a science-based way and not a political way. And we've watched the Russians and the Chinese hurry these vaccines to market in an attempt to make not a medical breakthrough or an epidemiological breakthrough, but a political, diplomatic breakthrough that's not in the best interest of the world. If we get a vaccine out there that doesn't work, that could create further devastation, further loss of life. We saw the Chinese Communist Party cover up the virus that came from their country. I hope that they don't take actions that further put this world at risk.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Now, explain your point. Why is the president wrong in giving the police some kind of... What's your criticism? I need it to be clearer.
The Pentagon is apparently involved with policing policies in our country. He has to sever that connection, number one.
Hang on. You can't say stuff like that. What do you mean the Pentagon is involved somehow in policing policies? What are you talking about? You can't make statements like that unless you back it up. What are you talking about?
It's pretty obvious there is some big hand behind all the police departments that stems from the military.
What are you talking about?
Our Pentagon is in bed with our police departments. That has to stop.
No, what are you talking about? Give me one example of what you're talking about in a piece of evidence.
America has gone bad. America has gone.
Oh, dude, you're just not. See, this is pathetic. I ask you for a piece of evidence, and you throw out Nostrum's pablum like America's gone bad. Stand by what you say and back it up.
Okay, there are at least 10 episodes in the last 2 years where police used unnecessarily amounts of bullets to stop somebody for the purpose of killing them. This is so that they can't sue. And the Pentagon
take your bloody tinfoil hat off. Have you ever stood in a situation like that?
I've been in worse situations than probably anyone you know.
Oh, really? And you've actually had to deal with that situation on the streets of America when a person's coming at you with a knife and it's your job to protect the people?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now.
All right, everybody. I don't believe I ever met this man, but if he's not a kindred spirit, then I don't know what kindred spirit means. I'm actually reading his book. I can't read all the books whose authors I interview. Some of them are wonderful books, otherwise I wouldn't interview them. But this one I'm reading is that important. The Stakes, America at the Point of No Return. That's correct. Michael Anton wrote that famous essay on Flight 93 as a parable for where America is. The book is up at DennisPrager.com. The Stakes, America at the Point of No Return. Michael Anton, welcome to my show.
Thank you. You actually have met me. The most recent time was about 2 years ago at Charles Kessler's Christmas party in Pasadena.
All right, you know what? Let's start it again. You were not on for whatever reason. Say it again. I'm sorry.
I said, you actually have met me. The most recent time was about 2 years ago.
Oh, I remember
at Charles Kessler's Christmas party in Pasadena.
That's right. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I was one of his students. And still am, really.
That's right. Well, you have a very good mentor there. You understand. You're one of the handful, and unfortunately, I do think it's a handful who understand the stakes, which is why you correctly titled your book that way. Do you think most conservatives, well, no, I'll put it this way, most Republicans understand the stakes?
I think they have a better, probably not yet, but 2020 has been an unfortunately clarifying year. I say in the preface to the book, I think, or no, I said it in another essay that I just published the other day, but it's been the worst, not the worst year for me personally, but it has been the worst year for America of my lifetime. It's just these unprecedented calamities, from the lockdown and the economic collapse and the forced economic collapse, the completely, self-enforced economic collapse, to all the rioting and the endless waves of rioting and violence that we lie about, that the media lies about and politicians lie about, and these horrible changes to our culture and the demonization of America that's been going on in academic and elite intellectual circles for 50 years or more, as really this year broke through to the mainstream in a way that, those of us who've been on campus were familiar with it, but we sort of hoped we'd never see it in real ordinary life. And now it's everywhere. So I think it's a lot clearer to a lot more people in 2020 what the stakes really are. But unfortunately, we had to go through hell to achieve a lot of that realization.
Well, and we're not out of it.
No, we're definitely not out of it. I mean, I guess the best way I could put that, the most positive spin I could put on it is, we were kind of slow walking, or more, in this direction. At least we were going in this direction more slowly before 2020. The president was pushing back hard and getting a lot of things done, but also facing unprecedented resistance from every power center in our society, every single one, including his own executive branch of the federal government that's supposed to take his orders and do what he says. I think that one of the things that explains 2020 is the Democrats and the left's realization that they can't, from their own perspective, from their own perception of their own interests, they cannot let him have a second term. And if that means destroying the country to prevent it, they will do it. I've never seen in my life, nor would I ever thought I would see. Now, I'm a student of history. I've read in books about cities being sacked. It used to be not uncommon, right, unfortunately. I have never heard instances where mayors of cities encourage the sacking of their own city, as the feckless mayors of Chicago and Minneapolis and New York, and unfortunately even Los Angeles, where I know you are, have done. And all the books that I've read, I can't think of a single instance where this has happened, and it has now happened repeatedly in the last 3 months in the United States of America.
That's right. Well said. Where are you right now?
I am in D.C., in the D.C. suburbs. I teach at Hillsdale College's Washington, D.C. campus. I actually have to go in and teach a class tonight.
Are students meeting?
Yes, students can, under the D.C. rules, as long as the gathering is, they're not big gatherings, they're small. We've carefully looked at all the rules. We follow them. We social distance. We wear masks and wash our hands, as per required. But as long as the gathering is under a certain size and the classes are all that, then we can meet.
I read this weekend. I've never thought this way, but I'm starting to think this way with regard to manipulation of society. Are you aware of how much money Gates gives to various foundations? I want you to answer that when we come back. I haven't talked to you, my listeners, about this ever. I only became aware of it this weekend. Should have been aware of it before, but it is what it is. Bill Gates. It's a very scary proposition. All right, y'all. Sean, relief factor. You need relief factor, Sean. That's right. This is addressed to you. I'm sorry? No, it does not treat sunburn. Anyway, maybe you don't have physical legs. I hope you don't. Most people do, and that's why I beg you, for your sake, they'll keep advertising. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about gratuitous pain. And I consider muscular and joint pain, all of that, gratuitous. There's pain in life that's inevitable, like childbirth, okay? Try it for 3 weeks for $19.95. ReliefFactor.com.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
The Chinese Communist Party model today is to create vassal states, tributary states that have to pay tribute to Beijing as the Middle Kingdom. There's a long history of this. It presents enormous risks to the world, and President Trump has recognized this presents a real risk to the United States of America, and in every front, whether it's diplomatic or economic, the United States is pushing back.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, China says they're making great progress on a vaccine. So does Russia. How are we going to trust either of these countries? And how are we going to trust the WHO when the WHO just flubbed it and China lied about the virus, and Russia, I don't know how we can trust them on anything. They're interfering with the election again. How can we possibly trust their claims on vaccines?
When I spoke in Southern California that day with respect to Chinese Communist Party, I said distrust but verify. I think with respect to the vaccines that are coming out of these countries, that's precisely the right model that we'll have to use. The whole world will have to take a good hard look and make sure that we have real scientific data in the same way we demand of anyone that puts forward a vaccine for sale and for distribution. My confidence level in the WHO is near zero in its capability to act in a science-based way and not a political way. And we've watched the Russians and the Chinese hurry these vaccines to market in an attempt to make not a medical breakthrough or an epidemiological breakthrough, but a political, diplomatic breakthrough that's not in the best interest of the world. If we get a vaccine out there that doesn't work, that could create further devastation, further loss of life. We saw the Chinese Communist Party cover up the virus that came from their country. I hope that they don't take actions that further put this world at risk.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here with Michael Anton, who was in the National Security Council. Very, very important book, The Stakes. America at the Point of No Return is the subtitle. I don't want to spend much time on it, but I want to know if you have any thoughts on Bill Gates and how much he funds.
You know, my awareness is limited. I know that he has done all kinds of vaccine and public health stuff, especially in Africa and overseas. And he also was, I think, the main funder, if not the only funder, behind the Common Core experiment, that tried to impose a national curriculum on the country that, as far as I can tell, is petering out, but that was very big in the 2000s and 2010s. Gates tries to cultivate a reputation as being apolitical and nonpartisan, and hence choosing causes, or at least advertising only those causes that he donates to that are much less explicitly political than a lot of the rest of Silicon Valley.
All right, let's go to the charges about the president saying these terrible things about veterans and people who lost their lives fighting for America. What's your thought on that?
Well, I don't believe it. I worked for the president for 14 months in the National Security Council. I was on all the foreign trips with him. I visited military bases with him, Navy ships and things like that. I was in meetings with troops with him many times. And just to be very blunt here, I was also with the president, at some times when he was a little bit his patience had been tried, let us say, and he could get salty sometimes when he was annoyed with this or that or the other thing. And so you'd think that if a person harbors that sentiment in his soul, maybe at the end of a long day when someone has really, someone or some issue has really ticked you off, that's when it would come out. And I saw him in those moments sometimes, and nothing like that ever came out. So I just absolutely don't believe this. I also don't believe that he canceled an event, gratuitously because he thought that, his hair would get messed up. The President Trump that I witnessed absolutely adored and still does, the ceremonial aspects of the presidency in a way that, say, Ronald Reagan did. He loved to stand up in ceremonies and represent America and represent the American people and represent the American military and honor the American people and the American military. And I saw him do it time and again. And as to the weather call, that they told him his helicopters couldn't fly. I've more than once been on a trip with the president where the only way he could do a particular event was via lift, in other words, fly, because there's not enough time to do it on the ground. And the pilots come to him and say, we can't do it. It's too rainy, or it's too foggy, it's too dangerous. We can't do it for your safety among all. And I've seen him get frustrated because he had to miss out on something that he really wanted to do. I never ever once saw him say, I don't want to go, just tell him it's the weather. So I think this thing is just nonsense from beginning to end, just made up to make him look bad.
Sent out by The Atlantic.
Yeah.
And again, on this funding, this is a very big problem. Who was the funder again? I was just reading of The Atlantic.
I think the 70% ownership is Steve Jobs' widow.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs' widow, 70% of the funding.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, the guy who wrote the story, Jeffrey Goldberg, is a real, highly partisan, anti-Trump, never Trump type. So
he has ruined The Atlantic. The Atlantic was, when I was at college, it was a serious journal.
And even more recently than that, when The Atlantic was in the 2000s, when Michael Kelly, who unfortunately, lost his life in Iraq over there, embedded as an embedded reporter, he really revived it and hired a lot of great writers and made it very interesting again. And some of that lasted for a while after Kelly's unfortunate early death. But yeah, now The Atlantic is just left-wing clickbait. It's pretty unreadable.
No, I mean, the anti-American hate that is spewed forth from The Atlantic, it's a wasteland. That's all it is. Now, back to your book. I finished the first chapter. It's on California.
Yeah.
I have a motto, which is a truism. It's not just a motto. It's a truism. Everything the left touches, it destroys.
Yeah.
And reading your chapter on California, I mean, this place, when I came here in 1976, this was the vision of Americans, to come to this beautiful place where freedom reigned. You have a dream, you go to California, go west, young man, and they've ruined it. They've simply ruined it. I have never thought of leaving California. I am thinking of leaving California.
Well, I was born there and come from, several generations on both sides of my family have been there. And I consider myself thoroughly Californian at every level. And I left, to pursue a career, to go to New York, to go to Washington, to do things that I couldn't do in California, always assuming that I would go back. And it only really sunk in for me within the last few years that I don't think I'm ever going back, nor do I want to anymore, nor would it be a hospitable place for me anymore, precisely because of what has happened. The people who run California still do a pretty good job of putting out the image of California that they want America to see. Beaches, magnificent mountains and wonderful natural landmarks and national parks and things like that, high-tech businesses, fancy eateries, and they say, this is paradise. Well, California is paradise arguably for a handful of people who can afford what it has to offer at the top. But even they have to deal with all of its inefficiencies and very high taxes and very poor services and bad traffic and so on and things like that. I mean, when it's gotten to a point where a very, very ordinary house that would, maybe sell for $200,000 to $300,000 in a normal part of the country in bland forgettable-looking commuter suburbs along the 101 between San Francisco and San Jose. These homes sell for $2.5 and $3 million, something like 10 to 11 times the ratio of income.
Why will those
price.
people stay there?
People are leaving. People have been leaving forever. I mean, one thing that's become common, it's happened for a lot of my friends' parents, is, mom and dad buy some ordinary run-of-the-mill place in 1970, whatever, for X amount of money. They realize when they're in their 60s that they can sell it for a multiples of what it is.
All right, when we come back, I want you to explain to me why Gavin Newsom is still locking down the state of California. The book is The Stakes. Michael Anton, up at DennisPrager.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Donald Trump has praised military leaders. He's increased the military budget and rebuilt the military. And for you to believe that Donald Trump does not support the military is completely inconsistent with his actions. Okay, but let's assume that that doesn't even persuade you. I just want to talk to you about the focus of this for today. This being the lead story on CNN, lead story on MSNBC. Why can't you make the case that the lead story should have been the story about Judicial Watch filing a lawsuit claiming that the CIA has admitted that they've destroyed records relating to an allegation that Joe Biden inappropriately touched a Secret Service agent's wife? Furthermore, this unnamed source claims that it wasn't just one time, that Biden would frequently walk around naked and engage in other very inappropriate activity. This was an article that was published in 2017 in Gateway Pundit. It said that Biden had a hands problem and that other Secret Service agents complained about the way Biden touched their wives and their girlfriends. Suddenly, the documents purporting to claim all of this are missing. And Judicial Watch has filed a lawsuit to try to retrieve these documents if they in fact exist, because they claim that the Secret Service has acknowledged that the documents were in fact destroyed. Now, why isn't that a story?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. The recent unveiling of the Republican agenda for a second term gave much encouragement to many who need it. Defeat COVID, create jobs, disentangle from China, provide school choice, teach American exceptionalism unapologetically, defend the police as an institution, oppose human trafficking. These and other measures offer sanity, flourishing, and hope to an embattled country. No agenda can cover every issue. Two outstanding issues need platforming, however: religious liberty and abortion. The Trump administration has taken stands on both of these momentous matters and to good effect. In days ahead, though, supporters of religious liberty and the unerasable humanity of the unborn need more support, not less. Religious liberty, after all, is for this gloriously free society the first freedom. Among other righteous ends, it enables a diverse coalition of many voices to speak on behalf of the unborn, until the murderous abomination of abortion is a distant memory. I'm Owen Strand.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the...
All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. Michael Anton, author of The Stakes, man who wrote the very profound essay, United 93, about the last election. America at the point of no return. Why do you think Gavin Newsom is locking down California? Even other Democratic governors aren't doing it as much.
I think to mask his own failure and California Democrats and progressive failures over the last several decades. Victor Davis Hanson likes to say that, a society that can't deal with pre-modern problems likes to indulge in postmodern fantasies. I mean, think of all the things that California in 2020, basic things it can't do. As you are learning right now, it can't keep the lights on, right? It can't clean the streets. There are diseases that have no medical names because they were wiped out in the Middle Ages that are now rampant in San Francisco and L.A. I could go on in this vein forever. The point is, it's so obvious that the state with the highest conception of itself, that thinks of itself as the future, a utopia, can't do basic things. And, you don't want the population to get restive and you want to cement your own power. Well, one way you do is you don't miss an opportunity and take this alleged pandemic. I mean, alleged, I guess it is a pandemic. It's just a lot less dangerous and deadly than they told us it was going to be in the first place, and use that to exert semi-dictatorial control. That's my best guess for why he's doing it.
Because it's irrational. That's why we have to guess.
Well, but also he's out of the same breath, he's complaining. I have last time I checked it was $51 billion is the deficit for the next fiscal year in the state. Well, why do you think that is, Governor? It's because you've closed the economy and you won't let businesses operate, and therefore you're not going to get any revenue. Why don't you think about a way to do a phased reopening and let people go back to work so that you can tax them at exorbitant rates again, and then you'll have some money in Sacramento.
I'm telling you, it's almost unbelievable to see what is happening. I want you to know, and I'd love you to react to this as a final moment here, and we're going to do a part 2 because you have too much to say. But I want you to explain to me, or not explain, I want you to react emotionally, intellectually, however you decide, why Americans, in this case Californians, are not protesting.
Well, I think, first of all, we have seen some Americans protest these lockdowns. There have been protests in other states. I think there have even been some in certain parts of California. But one reason is they have propaganda blared in their face 24/7. And the narrative right now is, this is a deadly pandemic, and if you want to go about living your life normally, you are a selfish person who will be responsible for deaths. And as false as I believe that narrative is, it's effective as propaganda, and it cows people.
That's right. You're right. We're going to have definitely a part 2 and 3. It's The Stakes. The book is up at DennisPrager.com by Michael Anton.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How much has your life changed since you pushed back on that racist comment where you were singled out for your skin color, Lawrence?
Unimaginably so, sadly. Well, no, not sadly, actually, because there's been some wonderful things that have come from it. But yes, I've been hounded out of the acting business. I spend quite a lot of time on Twitter with film directors giving me grief. And I just ask them nice questions in return. But sometimes I get a few direct messages from them going, oh, I'm only playing to the crowd. And I'm going, but that's my career you're playing to the crowd with, chum. So it's been
What
interesting.
about inspiration? I heard you mention cab drivers. Talk to us about the positive side effects of saying no to cancel culture and about the lives you've touched. I'm sure you get almost daily feedback in response to you actually standing up to these crazies.
I do. Whenever I walk the dogs in the park with my dad, which I do on a daily basis, people come and stop me all the time. And yesterday I was having lunch in a restaurant in London around the corner from a meeting, and the former Chancellor of the Exchequer in England came up to me and went, please, whatever you do, don't stop speaking.
Did you ever think, as a young actor, as a young singer musician, that the former Chancellor of the Exchequer of Great Britain would come up to you one day and say something like that to you, Lawrence?
Well, the owner of the restaurant asked me that exact question when he was stood next to me at the time. He said, you didn't see this one coming, did you, chum? I was like, no, I didn't.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Now, there are some new poll numbers. This again a Rasmussen poll. President Trump is now at 52%. Despite this bombardment that he gets time and time and time again. It really is amazing. I made this point, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before. If the media were truly fair and balanced, the man would be up 15 points. It would be a cakewalk. This is what we're up against. New York Times has not endorsed a Republican for president since 1956. The Washington Post has never done so. Over 90% of the news covering Donald Trump is negative. Never mind the economy. Never mind getting us out of this stupid Iran deal that at one time even Chuck Schumer opposed. Never mind moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem that Obama and George W. Bush promised to do and didn't do. Never mind stopping the caravans. You don't see any headlines anymore, do you? Never mind that. Never mind changing the asylum rules. Never mind getting Mexico to put their military on the border to stop this nonsense. Never mind getting the NATO country to pony up more money, something that George W. Bush and Obama complained about, did nothing about. Never mind any of the things this man has done. He is just a racist, right? Unbelievable. Meanwhile, despite all of that, according to Rasmussen, his approval ratings are now at 52%. And guess what his numbers are for black voters? 45%. Are you kidding me? I think he got 7% of the black vote in 2016. He's at 45% right now, according to Rasmussen.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Now, Mr. Secretary, the last time I saw you was at the Nixon Library talking about China, and it was a historic speech. But it followed about 10 days the China-Iran deal, and we didn't talk about that because we didn't quite yet know it. I'd like to ask you, how ominous is that partnership, and contrast it with the United Arab Emirates-Israeli deal that was put together by you and the president and the entire team, Jared, et cetera?
So it is a stark contrast. If you watch what's happening, that's what I talked about when I was in Southern California, that if you look at the Chinese Communist Party today and what General Secretary Xi is doing, you see whether it is the actions internal to the country, the enormous human rights violations, the way they're treating the Uyghurs and even the Mongols in the north and the Tibetans. This is a gross deterioration in the basic human rights that General Secretary Xi is providing for his own people, but then externally. I mean, you watch what's happening between India and China today, where the Chinese Communist Party has moved more soldiers to that border, more forces to that border than any time since the early 1960s, and causing huge problems for other countries in Southeast Asia in their ability to simply exercise their basic rights inside their own economic zones. This is a Chinese Communist Party that is authoritarian and has a deep desire for a hegemonic rule all around the world. Contrast that with the United Arab Emirates. They made a historic decision to recognize Israel and to come to a common understanding about the real threat to the people of the Emirates, which emanates certainly not from the state of Israel, but rather from the Islamic Republic of Iran. These are big global shifts, and the things President Trump has been leading on for the 3.5 years I've been part of this administration.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Your response is to throw that businesswoman under the bus. After 6 months of businesses being harassed by Democrat governors like your nephew, you're blaming her. A business owner who's since been interviewed, who says that she's receiving hourly harassment on social media and that her business is probably going to go down because of Nancy's attitude. Is that what being set up means? I'll tell you what it means. It means that you have utter disdain for the people who elected you. It means that you have utter contempt for the American people. Not only in the way you treated that individual, but also when it comes to the coronavirus. If